Yeah, we're gonna do.
All set?
All set.
Okay, thank you everybody for coming. Just want to, it's Friday, April 21st at 9 a.m. I just wanted to call the Environmental Committee meeting in order. And I'd like to acknowledge first that we are on the traditional territory of the Stahelis. And thank you for coming, everybody. It looks like a big group today. Item number 3, is there any introduction of late items that anybody would like to introduce? No, none at all. Okay, seeing none. Item number 4, approval of the agenda. Everybody had a chance to take a look at that. Do I have a seconder? Sorry, can someone move to approve the agenda, please? Yeah. Okay. And there any questions or any conversation about that at all? Okay, so be it. Yeas. Okay, approved. Okay, item number 5, adoption of the minutes. Did everybody have a chance to take a look at the minutes from the last, from April the 2nd? Okay, do I have a seconder for adoption of the minutes? Okay, seconder at all?
Second.
Okay, thank you. All in favor? Thank you. Okay, item number 6. So items for discussion. We've got quite a few things here. And I noticed that some of them are kind of, intertwined with one another. So we might, we'll try to go item by item. But first one is item A, update from the April 2nd regular council meeting. Amanda, do you have any comments about that? Okay.
Yeah, thank you. On page 5 of your agenda package is just a copy of the report that was council at the April 7th regular council meeting. And the recommendation from the committee was unanimously supported by council. So this kind of takes us into our second item, which is just for you to have a clean copy of the terms of reference that were approved by council. That's on page 7. And then council also supported the idea of a hazardous waste collection day, which is later on in the agenda. So.
Very good. So council approved and accepted all of our recommendations. Is that right? What a good council. Very enlightened. Are there any comments or questions about that at all? Yeah, go ahead.
I have a question. Do we have any idea whether it's a this year timeline or a next year timeline?
Thank you.
Go ahead.
3, 2,
sorry.
No problem. That was not discussed, and I think later on when we get to item F, we can talk a bit about the timing. I think it'd be good to just get the recommendation was to direct staff to look into it, but maybe just to flush out a couple of preliminary ideas so that Christy has a bit of a starting point about when we'd like to see that happen.
Okay. Does that answer your question? Or yeah, anybody else? Any comments or questions with regards to that? Okay, moving on. Item B, adopted terms of reference. Amanda, do you want to touch on that as well, or
It's
nothing else to?
Just for receipt. It's been discussed at the committee level already. If there's any questions, but that's your official copy now. Adopted. Okay. Yeah.
Good. All right. Any questions about the terms of reference? I'll move on to C if there aren't any. Are you okay? Okay, item C, Earth Day in May. I'm very excited about next Saturday. Hopefully the weather's good. Doesn't matter. We're going to try and bring lots of energy to this, and I think the community's looking forward to it. It's too bad we couldn't do this on the 22nd, but it just didn't work out. I think Earth Day in May is going to be fantastic for us, and I'm looking for an update. Do you have an update, Amanda, or Chrissy? Okay. And thank you for coming today with the update. I appreciate that.
We've got some confirmed attendees, which is fantastic. A recent addition that confirmed was WildSafe BC, the Fraser Valley representatives. So that will be representing the Bear Smart program as well as all the other WildSafe BC programs. So
well, they are coming.
They are coming.
Oh, wow. That's
They're
good.
just starting their hiring, but the coordinator gave me a call and was not quite rehired back, but was feeling optimistic about it. And then I received official confirmation that she's back in her position. So looking forward to that. She brings some nice display things that'll be a bit eye-catching. I think she has like bear skulls and things like that.
There's stones.
So we're looking forward to having them to talk about those important initiatives.
And sir, do you have a full list that you can, of not vendors,
I do. I can just kind of
participants?
read it. It's just in its chart because I've been waiting to hear back. So I'm gonna push on a few more people who didn't get back to me yet, but I have confirmation from GFL Environmental, who is our village's curbside waste collection company, Miami River Streamkeeper Society, Fraser Valley Invasive Species Society, the village's Communities in Bloom Committee and Environmental Advisory Committees, Earthwise Society, and Wild Safety.
Sturgeon folks can't come?
They did not get back to me.
It's funny, she lives here too, in town.
I'll try.
Maybe try again,
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah, you know anyone.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, thank you. I also, and I thank the committee for allowing the District of Kent, people from the representing the District of Kent to present to the attendees the information about the Aquatic Center. I believe they're gonna have 2 representatives. I'm not too sure, but they're very excited to be part of this event and provide some information about the new Aquatic Center.
Yeah, I think it's a great opportunity. I hope everybody was okay. We kind of had to call an audible there. I think the individuals that are coming on next Saturday regarding the Aquatic Center are going to everything. They go to all the corn festivals and the farm festivals, and they're if you have a lemonade stand on your lawn, they're there too, because it's a big project for our community and for their community, and they're trying to get as much momentum. And it's, you know, I think it'll be good to have them there. So hope everybody's okay with that. Chrissy, do you have more to say regarding this, or?
I forgot, we will also have our village's fire smart materials represented there as well. We are still awaiting official confirmation on funding, so we haven't hired back our LFR contractor yet, but all of the event and be able to stay and have the resources available. And then for resources, Kaylee's got, upon the committee's request, a binder with the Urban Forest Master Plan with the QR code to the digital version.
Oh, that's great.
This is what we used at the event last year, the Health and
Okay.
Wellness Fair. So this is still all old material on there right now, but we could look to freshen that up if that would be something that the committee would be interested in. I know we're never sure what the winds and weather is gonna be like down there, but
Bring heavy
We
rocks.
can zap around the table at the top there.
Sandbags. Yeah. Does anybody have ideas for freshening it up? Yeah, go ahead, Sherry.
Perhaps if it would seem that we're planning to have this Earth Day in May event as a yearly thing and hopefully expanding it. So perhaps we should start putting the tagline Earth Day in May, Harrison's first Earth Day in May on it. Because the environmental committee is something that could be small printing on the bottom. But if you're trying to get some momentum to create a yearly event,
But it might be in April sometimes.
well, you could. It could,
Yes,
but
but
for
is
the
it-
moment, it's Earth Day in May, which is your tagline for advertising, right?
Okay.
This board isn't for Earth Day in May, it's just for the environmental committee though, isn't it?
That's correct.
Yeah,
Okay.
but they're looking to freshen it up to use it for Earth Day in May.
But, no, I know, but shouldn't it be like Earth Day in May will be a bigger
Like
advertisement kind of thing, like a bigger board, and then this is just our groups?
That's correct. I think you're right. I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead, please. Yeah.
That'll promote the event. This is gonna be about.
Sure.
Yeah.
So to their point, you're talking about like a banner or something
No,
like that?
well,
or-
I'm just saying that
Just add it
whatever
to-
Earth Day in May does is what Earth Day in May does, right? I mean, our I'm just saying this board here should be just about us and not so much about Earth Day in May. Because this is what we do, right?
Yeah.
And then Earth Day in May is kind of the bigger out, encompasses everything. So I mean, we can have Earth Day in May on the board. I'm just saying that I just thought this was more directed at our group.
I know.
And not the whole
So you're saying
day,
the
yeah.
Earth Day in May is one piece that our.
When I'm
community
seeing things are added, being able to be added and taken
Oh,
off
sure,
that
yeah.
board, so for a particular event, having the title Earth Day in May.
So if I
ties it in and you can take it off and then you can have, you know, some, whatever other events that we take that board and update it.
Thanks, Sherry. Yeah, Don, it's a good point. If I may suggest, if we're gonna brand this and have it as an annual thing, Earth Day in May, which I think is a great idea, maybe a banner or some kind of a branding.
Well, so they just asked if we should update this board, and I just suggested that you add the title of the event to it, which you could take off and add the title to a different event some other time.
Shit. Sorry, Tyson, you wanted to say something?
Oh, what I was gonna recommend is perhaps Kaylee is our brains behind design and ideas, and perhaps we could pick her brain on maybe what her vision for something like this would.
Sure, yeah, because you've got really good marketing material so far, so maybe I think that part of that branding that you've already have, we could go on there.
I think the intention of this particular board would be to have it at your booth. So whichever ideas or initiatives that you want to showcase to the public. But again, we will have sandwich boards so we can promote that Earth Day in May initiative. And if it does carry on into next year, that could be something that we
Okay.
looked into. But for now, the sandwich boards would just cater to.
Can we have made up some kind of a banner or a placard that brands our Earth Day in May initiative?
I think your
Is it too late?
timelines are a little.
Well, tight, okay, next time.
I think it's a brilliant idea. If there's something you could have in the plaza, have it up on, you know, it would really be a great sentence. And if this is gonna become an annual thing, and we're looking to do it as, and through some funding opportunities, then Chrissy can, and or Kaylee can find a way to be able to pay for it. And then, we could just roll it up every year and roll it out when we need it.
Right, okay. Just a comment too on this board, I think it's great, but you know, one of our focuses this year is tree canopy. It'd be nice to see updated tree canopy initiatives or efforts. We don't have any concrete efforts yet, but I think we need to maybe update our board with regards to tree canopy. What do people think about that?
I like that idea.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, go ahead, Paul.
Just who we are. I wonder if we should list who the actual current membership is in that section.
Sure.
Nothing wrong with that.
If everyone's comfortable with their names.
Yeah. And your height, your age.
Oh, wow.
No, because it shows, we got a broad representation in the community, and people might want to talk to individual members.
That would be great.
Are you guys planning on having like a kind of a name tag identifying who you are in the event? So if people do have questions.
Like the sticky
It's
thing.
a great idea. Would it be too late to get some lanyards done for us?
Hello, my
Thank you.
name is.
Yeah.
Volunteer, I don't have lanyards on there, but we do have ones that can.
Would you mind doing that for each of us? Yeah, okay.
Is that at least that way that you'll be identifiable, and then you can speak to your initiatives and perhaps gauge some interest.
Wonderful.
residents and visitors.
Okay,
Forgot I did have one more.
Yeah, go ahead,
update
Kristen.
on that. Birch Grove Nursery isn't able to attend as they are open for business at their establishment, but they did offer to donate for a draw or a giveaway. So I will graciously accept that, anything that they're willing to do that. And we could do like a giveaway draw, and so then we can set that up at the committee table as well.
perfect. That's great. And I think you were looking into saplings or something like that to give away. Did they ever come through with that?
That was when, it was all the emails going back and forth, and some of the contradicting messaging.
Okay, we'll talk about that.
Yeah, we'll get to that. But yeah, so they'll have some kind of giveaway from them, and then we have water bottles that we were planning to bring as well, so.
Wonderful. Thank you. Is there anything else, Kaylee or Chris, you'd like to add about this? I've got a couple of things here as well.
I don't necessarily know.
I'm wondering about marketing. So this is an important week coming up. I would really want to drive this through the community and see if we can get like a lot of people come out for this. What kind of marketing campaign can we have? If anybody has ideas, I'm all open to this, but can we push this out every couple of days this week, or is it overload?
Definitely, I think there's room to push it out on social media. It's on our website.
It's great, first
On the front
centered
page.
on the website now.
It's on
Oh,
our,
it switched on, it was there. Anyways,
it's on our website, but can we push that into social media, the usual sites? If that's okay?
Perhaps the EMB.
EMP,
If we could, sorry, Gary, go ahead.
Do we have a poster
there's posters up.
that we can grab and maybe post on our own Facebook pages and kind of blow it out a little bigger?
Yeah, you could always share the posts on our Facebook page as well. It should be
Perfect.
public
Sure,
and
yeah.
open, it's the same.
Okay,
Best to share official, that's what I would recommend.
okay.
Okay, so has everybody seen, so Amanda, that looked really good. I like the way that looked.
Very eye-
Everything that I've seen so far looks good, so that's great.
Mark?
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Question about attendees, is Stelis or any of them?
They are a tentative, yes, but it unfortunately falls on the day of their baby's soccer tournament that they host.
Oh,
Yeah, so
okay.
it's a maybe.
Yeah, okay, but they've been invited. I just want to be clear.
Yes, absolutely.
It's a good question, for sure. Wanted to talk to you about, okay, any other questions about marketing or anything else that's come up so far? No, okay. I wanted to talk about logistics on Saturday or Friday. What kind of help does the village need for setup, for takedown, for anything? Tyson or Chrissy, do you know?
I can speak to that, yeah, so on Saturdays, we usually have one public works employee on, and I believe they start around 7. I think this event starts at 9 or 9:30.
9 o'clock.
Yeah, 9 o'clock, so we could have, as long as we have a plan laid out for how many tables you need, how many chairs you need, we can bring them from, we have tables, new tables now that are a little bit lighter, so they can be handled by one person, and we can bring a series of chairs from Memorial Hall if needed, and then setup would be, if you give us an idea of what you'd like the setup to look like, we can have it kind of pre-prepared for you, and whenever people come in and start setting up their booths, then
Okay, this is probably important to decide today then.
yeah.
Unless you guys have a,
Or we can just deliver the chairs and you guys can set it up when you get there. It's up to you on how you wanna do that. Now, of course, if the weather is not favorable, then we'll be in Memorial Hall. It's just a matter of everybody getting directed to Memorial Hall, and then you can, go in and set up any way you'd like. It's just the delivery, if the weather is favorable, and the delivery of we're gonna need to know how many tables and how many chairs you set.
okay, do we have a preliminary number? Well, we know now there's 7, I think, vendors coming, 7 participants. Or is it 8?
9. Some are bringing their own tables as well, so I'm kind of coordinating that.
Okay.
So then I can communicate with our public works team about what we need on site.
Perhaps
Yeah.
maybe a dozen tables and 2 dozen chairs.
Yeah, that would be great. That's a lot to put on Todd though, at 7 in the
It
morning.
would be Todd, it would be one of our,
Whoever.
Todd has the weekend off.
Okay, good. Yeah.
It'd be one of our junior employees, so that'd be fun.
Yeah, because we can, do they need extra hands? Because,
Should be fun.
yeah,
If
okay,
they need to take a couple trips, they can take a couple trips.
okay.
Mr. Chair, maybe
Please
this is would it be helpful if we just agreed what time the committee should be there? And if it's
Yeah.
like 8:30 or 8:15, then we all have an extra set of hands. If there's anything that needs to, if the weather, blah, 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 we all there and we can quickly adjust.
Yeah, yeah, go ahead. Jim.
Sorry, yeah,
Good idea.
that's a great idea. Maybe some people can kind
Yeah.
of commit when they can start, and then I think some of the vendors too, like to agree, probably want to be somebody early to help
Yeah.
organize and, yeah. So
Okay, and maybe we do this in shifts. Does everybody have the morning off? Can give their morning to this? Yeah, okay. So you all want to meet at 8:30? Or does anybody want to go there earlier?
it can be earlier
Yeah,
I think if the committee's there at 8:30,
That should be
we'll be
enough
there earlier.
is that all right?
and That'll be fine, yeah.
Okay, and I don't recall seeing it, like, how do we set up the tables assuming it's outside? How do you want to set up the tables to be?
The plan is just to be sort of like in the plaza, so we'll be sort of just all around the main entrance there.
Okay, so the tables are parallel to the shelters that are there now, like the overhangs? Or are they parallel to the sidewalk?
So the shelters that are there are basically on the east half.
Yeah,
So if you're looking for, if it's a nice sunny day, looking for maybe some shelter, maybe so away from the sun, you may wanna consider lining it maybe in line with the shelters themselves.
okay,
And then perhaps there's, and if people need more space out in the open area, they can use that area. That's just a thought.
okay.
Is there some kind of like coverage we can bring to
Do we-
Tent?
tent? Yeah, thanks.
The fire smart tent.
Yeah, we have a tent that we probably supply.
Because if the weather's leaning on kind of like,
Iffy.
light, iffy, then are we still gonna go ahead? Do you think we still have some?
Well, I
People have
think
to make the decision.
Friday, yeah, I would
Yeah.
say usually Friday, and we'll look at this, look at the forecast, and if it's iffy, then I might recommend that we.
Right now, it's looking really good though.
It is,
I just
yeah, we
put that,
go,
yeah.
but I like the tents idea, because it brings more visual impact to the whole center. Does anybody have any tents? Do we have any tents that we can?
I think
They're also.
we have one, and I think
Yeah,
tourism
we've got
has
one.
So that's only either 10 by 10 or 12 by 12, something, they're only gonna cover one table essentially.
Okay, we've only got one, that's the fire smart one.
We have one, yes. You know, if you're, like, what I might recommend is you maybe set that up in the middle, right at the plaza, that's where you have your Earth Day in May. And it'll be you'll see it as you're entering town.
Yeah.
And that could be your kind of, maybe set up your environmental committee there with the Earth Day in May, and then everyone else can be behind along that.
Okay,
It's a good idea.
everybody all right with that?
And that tent will be available, like just accessible.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Awesome.
It's in, Christie will be happy to get out of the row. Only for a day.
Set it up to.
Do any of the vendors need power down there, or do we need
There's
power?
power.
There's power down there? Okay. Anything else? Can we think of anything else, guys? I want to cover all the basics right now. Nothing? No?
And it ends at roughly.
12.
Okay.
You might see that, the residents, obviously, they'll know that it's going on. You may see a big influx in the morning, but, usually visitors, if they're coming in and are interested, you'll probably see them around 10, 11 o'clock is when things start kind of filling up. You might see some more visitor participation at that time. But, you know, generally speaking, on a weekend morning, it's quite quiet, first thing in the morning. We'll have our crew, depending on how busy the Friday, we'll have our crew down there as well, doing cleanup, because they'll be tending to all the garbages.
Great.
If there's
Thank you.
any concern or need, feel free to grab them, and we'll make sure that they're aware that, if there's, you know, like, if you need more chairs, for instance, from Memorial Hall, they can run down and grab them for you.
Okay, they'll have access to Memorial Hall
Yes.
regardless. I'm just thinking about Saturday morning, if something goes awry, if we make a last minute decision to go into the hall, we've got access, we've got keys. I don't imagine you're gonna be around, are you? Okay, I didn't know that, thank you. Okay, that's good. Okay, we've covered marketing, we've covered logistics and help. Anything else with regards to Saturday? This is our first chance. I want it to go well. Is there anything else we can cover? Any other ideas or concerns? Sherry, nothing? Okay. Good, okay, yeah, maybe, yeah, okay, so I'll move on from item C then, unless there's anything else. Everybody okay with that? So I'll move on to the Urban Forest Master Plan. This is, I mean, it's a huge program, and, you know, I think the more that I think about it, you know, we just need to, I would just like to plant more trees, personally. I think the village has spoken, they want to see more tree canopy. This committee has spoken, they want to see more trees. And, you know, there's lots of different ways to go about doing it, and I'm not sure if we have all the answers today. But does anybody have any comments about how to proceed with this, or any other ideas or concerns?
I think our focus on the urban forest master plan is a tree canopy right now, and if we stay focused on that and promote the planting of trees, it creates the canopy, it creates cooling, it creates oxygen, which we breathe. I think it's a good start. And if we can get that going, get the village on board, to plant on our boulevards, and the people can, private citizen can plant on their own properties. And if we can facilitate them finding trees, maybe at reasonable rates, it'll help to get more plantings done. That's what I'd be looking towards.
I was thinking about maybe, I mean, that's a great idea. I just, you know, it's small steps. Even if we can plant 50 or 100 trees a year, that's amazing. I mean, I think it'd be a really worthwhile thing. And I think we should also celebrate what we've done. I talked to Matt, the other day down at the waterfront, and he's saying, hey, we've planted actually quite a few trees around the lagoon, and he was very proud of that. And we didn't have a hand in it, but the village should maybe highlight the fact that we have made some positive implications or positive steps towards our tree canopy. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. The number, I believe, was 53 trees were planted for that project alone. And then we replaced the other willows that came down, including failed, and others came down because of their health. So that they've been fully replaced. Through development, it is mandatory for development to provide boulevard trees as well. And I know further on in the agenda, we're going to speak specifically to saplings. But I think I'm full support of trying to create a tree canopy. You're right. And then also want to speak to Wilmot West there with that plan. Eventually, when it comes to fruition, there will be trees that would replace the old oak trees that we had to take down because they're poor health. And then low-lying plantings as well that will obviously assist in that, shrubs and whatnot. But the challenge for the saplings and encouraging people to plant trees on their property. I might recommend that you focus on trees that are a little bit more, well, first of all, meet our bylaws. There's a list of trees and shrubs that are supported in our development bylaw and our tree management bylaw. But it's just something that's a little bit more drought resistant, because we know we're seeing climate change. The challenge with the more the coniferous trees, they create more of a hazard. Other trees can be susceptible to rot or disease. So we want to see something where if you're going to push something, I recommend that you push something that is sustainable and is going to actually create what they're looking for. Saplings take a very long time to grow. My idea of a sapling is something you get in a little, plastic bag, and it's about 6 or 8 inches tall. You plant it, you nurture it, and you hope it grows. The most success you're going to get, and I think Gary mentioned it, is going to a nursery and looking for a tree that's already established and somewhat mature, where you can plant, and your success of growth is going to be much better.
Okay, no, good point. Yeah, sure.
Just for clarification, we were asked to come up with an idea of something to give away at this Earth Day in May, and that's where the saplings came from.
100%.
And with the understanding that it probably be mostly non-residents who may be taking them.
Yes.
What could we possibly give away that would be easy, small, and transportable?
Absolutely.
So don't worry about that. Our whole entire plan was to plant with saplings. That was for a giveaway for this particular event, and now we've run out of time, so it's not going to happen anyway.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I think it's more. I'm kind of vaguely speaking to item G that's on the agenda. It's just something.
That's where the saplings came from.
Yeah,
though.
understood.
So that you understand that. With regard to other, we haven't even got there yet. That was pertaining to the Earth Day in May for a giveaway. Okay.
Yeah, it was more symbolic.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, for sure.
No,
Thank you, Sherry.
That has nothing to do with our walk.
No, I think
Yeah. Go
the
ahead.
sapling is a good idea. I mean,
We're
if
just
it's
gonna
this big or 10 feet tall, at least it's something, it's a start. It's a move forward. It's people are helping. people are involved. And I think that's very important, that we do things like this. And, you know, whether it's a sapling or a 10-foot tall tree, it shouldn't matter, it's a start.
So
Yeah.
that's a great, so it's probably a good idea maybe to look into like a list of approved and bylaw and also
We have one.
recommendations. Do we do? Okay.
I think also through Fire Smart, they have great plans on plantings and how to plant and how things should be planted in your yard and where they should be planted in your yard to protect your home.
Very good point.
Yeah,
That,
good, okay, yeah, go ahead, Sharon.
that brings a question to mind is when I was looking at the types of trees that were allowed to plant or that are safe to plant and the distances with which they have to be planted. And that the community plan tends to be going towards more high density construction. The shortest distance I could find, even within yards, is 10 meters. That's a lot from a house. 10 meters, was that correct? So many, many homes will not have yards big enough to facilitate any of the approved trees. 10 meters is
A long way.
a long way. So, and I don't know whether I read that bylaw right, that applies to boulevards as well.
Do some of
10
the,
meters was the shortest distance, some of them were much more than that.
Right, so if I may share, I think we're in item G, we're gonna be talking about some of the
Yeah.
bylaws and rejigging or
It just
revision some of
jumped
the
it into my
bylaws.
brain and I wanted to,
Yeah,
that forefront in everybody's mind that the bylaw and the wish of expanding the urban canopy may be in some areas in contradiction with each other.
it could be, so we'll look at that.
Because to tell somebody you can't have a tree in your yard because your yard's smaller than that. Or in front of your house, because your yard is smaller than that.
I think there might be some misconception. I think the 10-meter rule is more for like a coniferous type tree, like a pine.
No, there was all different,
Really?
yes. There was only one tree that was an ornamental crabapple that was less.
Okay, so.
Yeah, and that was
makes
6
sense.
meters.
To me,
But every other
Yeah.
tree, and we have them all here, I have it in the file here, that have been listed on the smart
Thanks
tree
for looking into that, Sharon. That's great.
are quite a distance. So in order for us, we had wanted to do a walk around to try and expand our urban canopy on public property. And I guess there's bylaws with regard to that as well.
yeah,
But we
that's-
were cart before the horse, just going, what do you think we should do without all of the pertinent information to back it? But like I said, it would seem that the choice of trees that are approved and the bylaws make it a very narrow window how we can expand this canopy. So I'm wondering if we need, is there a pre-identified, because our walk around as a committee would be dealing with public lands, not private lands, that are already, that have the space to accommodate anything other than a crabapple.
I think that,
Because we could be walking around saying we'd love to plant trees here and there, it would be back at the sapling issue.
Thanks, Sharon.
Yeah, it'd be nice if we could, and we'd like to do it, but we can't because the bylaws say that these trees have to be this far away from a structure because of the fire smart regulations, and now we're in a bit of a.
I think for the most part, if you're focusing on boulevards in front of homes, you're with the zoning bylaw setbacks and the distance or the size of the boulevard, I think that 10-meter distance can be met. And what I would recommend is if you haven't already is look at because the consultant did a inventory on village owned and maintained trees that are in the boulevards.
Yeah.
There's a lot of trees and we keep wading in further down the agenda, but lots of trees that are planted and have been planted in front of residential properties. It would have been planted by an owner or previous owner. And that wouldn't be considered on part of the village's inventory list, so we don't maintain it essentially. Just because it's in the boulevard doesn't mean it's owned by the village. There are a series, you can see along Hot Springs Road, where the linear park is, there's those trees that are there. The ones along Lillooet, there's a couple on the Coons, you can see those are dedicated trees that would have been passed on to the village through development. And then, of course, all the ones in the parks and all that kind of stuff, I think it's pretty evident. It's the challenge is understanding who planted it and whether the village was involved in that planting. Now, this initiative is a great opportunity to increase the village's tree stock. And as long as we're putting in trees that are sustainable and meeting a bylaw, and again, we'll speak to it a little bit further down the agenda, then I think it's a great idea. Then you're looking at fulfilling what your mandate essentially
Right.
is. And
Yeah.
what-
I think we all want the same thing, we just need to get there.
Yeah.
I think Paul had a question.
Just, once we identify what kind of trees, and we wanna encourage homeowners to take trees. I'm gonna bring up the idea of fostering, find somebody that, perhaps a farm, that we take saplings to and they look after them for us. I've done this before. I set up a riparian nursery, and maybe we can partner with Miami River Stream Keepers to some of their stock. If we could find somebody benevolent in the community that wanted to help us raise the trees, might be a worthwhile thing that this committee could consider. I've had some expertise in getting that going.
Do we have relationships with local?
Well, if there's an opportunity with the community gardens, that perhaps there's, with an expansion of the gardens themselves, there could be an opportunity to plant beds that could foster trees for a little while before they, from the sapling stage to a certain point, and then you could move them up. But again, that would be an agreement you'd have to set up with the community gardens.
What about, I think we need to seek ways to just ignite this community and get them interested in trees again. And I think people will get on board with this, like plant a tree today day, and just trying to ignite things and get people into it. And I think people would buy their own trees if they had a list of types of trees and where they can place it. I think maybe they would do it themselves, and we could help them maybe. And because I just don't want the village to rely on government to do this. I think citizens can plant a tree on their own lawn as well, if we look at the bylaws and make sure it's properly done and make sure they use the appropriate species and the right distance and all that. I just think if we rely on the village to do it, we don't have the manpower and money to do it quickly. So anyways, go ahead. I think Susan, you had a question.
Oh, no, I was just gonna comment a little bit, as far as the home landscape goes, it is really difficult as village staff who are really promoting fire smart messaging to then, so it has to definitely be like a well thought out plan, and probably in some more communications with Fire Smart BC about some successful planting projects that have occurred that close to the home, because otherwise our messaging coming out from the Fire Smart lens is basically to be removing everything back, because otherwise if there were embers that were to come into our community, that's all going up. It's getting right directly into people's houses. So I just want to make sure that we're really aware of that. We also have a motion from this committee that was supported by council for staff to be looking into grant funding to provide opportunities to increase canopy in those other municipal owned lands. So that is sort of always our first step as well, to seek the funding to be able to execute the projects.
Good idea. Okay, yeah, I mean, on your first point, for sure, we have to be fire smart. And I think if we can get a list of species, types of trees, I agree, conifers shouldn't be near your house. And that's why I think either the village or this committee needs to come up with some kind of standards as to what these new plantings will look like. Is it possible then, do you know, CAO, if we could get a list of species that can be a certain distance from houses? Are we looking at just deciduous trees only? You know if that exists?
Yeah, there's two things. One, the bylaws that were created, that we're gonna speak to a little bit further down the agenda were established well in advance of the Fire Smart principles and their recommendation. So perhaps they are both, they may very well be on the same list, but if we're looking at trying to create a Fire Smart community, then I would focus on the recommendations from Fire Smart and see if they parallel with the bylaws. So that would be my recommendation.
Go ahead, Gary.
I thought Harrison was labeled as a fire smart community. Didn't they? From the
It
province?
was in 2019. Now that model has changed, and I'm taking Christie's thunder away, I apologize. But that model doesn't go from a community base, it's neighborhoods now. So for instance, where your subdivision is there, you could get a series of people in your neighborhood, and you could apply to be certified as a fire smart neighborhood instead of community.
Who actually created this neighborhood? Was it the province or was it just Harrison?
Fire smart.
Yeah, Fire Smart puts parameters. So like, for instance, you could go say over on Driftwood and Cottonwood in that area, that whole subdivision could be dedicated as, if everybody met the requirements under the Fire Smart principles, it could be dedicated as a Fire Smart neighborhood. And that'd be something that you could promote if you were in that subdivision. And because what they did is they brought it from a community-based, like a whole, like a blanket base, to more focusing, because I think it's more achievable in smaller increments instead of trying to get a whole community to establish the Fire Smart principles.
And this was brought around by the province of fire smart?
They're the Fire Smart Committee, sorry.
Yeah.
The Fire Smart Committee has about 10 different stakeholders that all work together on supporting the program.
Okay.
But that's a provincial agency is what Gary's question, I think. Is it
Yeah.
a provincial
Is it
agency or
federal?
like it's not local, that's for
There
sure.
is not local. There's Fire Smart Canada, and then Fire Smart BC is like a subsidiary of that. And then, yeah, they have a committee that has representatives that sit sort of at like their steering committee from different ministries in the province, UBCM, BC Wildfire Service, and a whole handful of others.
Right,
Okay.
I think what they're asking is, it's an association or kind of yeah, and it's not an actual arm of the province. It may have representatives from different ministries of the province, but it's not actually managed by the province.
We're kind of getting off topic, but I mean, this is very, very important because we want to increase our tree canopy, but we want to do it in a way that's also fire smart. So I just back to my original question. I think this committee or the village needs to come up with a set of species that are allowed within a certain distance of your house, and other species that can be planted on boulevards or on your front lawn, or that sort of thing. So is it possible to come up with a list like that for this committee to?
It's already established.
It's established.
Fire Smart already.
Okay.
Yeah.
They have a planting guide where, actually they call it a home ignition zone, and it shows you what you can plant where, and the different types of trees that are you can plant in certain areas, and ones that don't need so much water as ones that need more water.
Right.
So it's a good, it's on Fire Smart.
It sounds like everything's there, just gotta get it to the community in a very simplified format, I think, and just.
I think a lot of landscapers as well need to have the information, because I see a lot of people having work done in their yards and they're throwing bulk mulch up against their houses.
Right.
And that is a no-no, and this is landscapers doing it. I don't know, they should be saying, oh, no, this can't be put here, it shouldn't be put here. It's not a good thing.
Okay, good idea. See, go
Yeah,
ahead.
what I was gonna recommend is maybe that on the next agenda, that we bring forward the plan itself, like the Fire Smart recommendations for the tree listings, and you can speak directly to it.
Perfect.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's just a thought.
And who can come up with, so you're going to collate the information from Fire Smart and.
Well, I think it's just a matter of bringing that document or information from the website. I believe there's I'm seeing a list right here that has.
Yeah, there it is. Yeah, I've seen that, but okay.
So maybe it's
Finding it, right?
Yeah.
something you can bring and speak to directly at a future meeting.
Okay, good. Anything else?
I just have one.
Yes, Susan,
comment,
please.
And it's a question and a comment with regards to, so we're wanting to increase the canopy. What are the rules regarding new development in some municipalities that I've been involved with? there's been with new development, so there's a lot. You know, it's only 40% that can be built, 60% has to be green space. Do we have any rules? Because seems with these new developments, we're just pushing the boundaries. So when we have a limited amount of space within the village when we're talking about, oh, we gotta have people plant stuff, but we're allowing people to go like so far on their lots with everything. Do we have something that says that
I
a
think,
percentage that?
yeah, so I think CEO Cook could probably itching to answer that.
Thank you. Yeah, so through our subdivision and development servicing bylaw, there is requirements for landscaping, which includes tree planting. I can't speak to the exact numbers and how.
At the
it's
percentage of
defined.
green space?
So it's a bit of a challenge. So through legislation, a developer has the ability to provide cash in lieu for green space, which is it's a challenge when you're trying to create park space.
Mhm.
So for instance, when there's a subdivision that has 3 lots or more, I think it's 3 lots or more, but you know that, they're required to provide a percentage of, I believe it's 5% of the value of the lands in lieu of finding more park space in the future. So through development, that's an opportunity, but through the, like for say a townhouse development, again, they're trying to put as much as they can within these parameters. And of course, we're never ever gonna meet Fire Smart principles by planting trees in adjacent buildings because it's usually quite compact. Now, there is a minimum requirement for them to provide an amenity space. Now, that could be a building, that could be a park, that could be a lot of, and again, that's what they propose. Yet the village doesn't have really control over what they're going to propose for ultimate users or purchasers or renters. And then through our development procedure bylaw and our DII bylaws, the council has the ability to impose certain landscaping requirements through development. So there are opportunities to increase the tree canopy through that, if we're speaking specifically to tree canopy and green space. But the challenge is that there's only so much ability that the village has to encourage a developer to provide more green space. Now, through our, again, we're partway through our Parks and Trails Master Plan, that perhaps may come into play in the future when it might identify, say, Pine Avenue, for instance, is heavily underserviced with park space, and it might provide a recommendation that in this area, we need X number of square meters of park space, and that would be something we would impose through subdivision and or development, where we would be asking for some land in order to be able to meet that target.
So,
That sounds, so it sounds like it's a little bit complicated. So there is no, like, if you have a lot, you're doing a build, a certain percentage has to remain green.
Yeah,
It's just
so,
the-
to speak to that, so through our zoning bylaw, there's a certain amount of coverage, land area
Okay,
that you can't exceed. And I believe it's 40%, so if you're talking about a subdivision or sorry, a lot, then even with the main dwelling and an accessory dwelling, they cannot exceed, I think it's 40%.
Okay,
Don't quote me
yeah.
again on that,
All right,
but-
But then.
Go ahead, Gary.
But if there's more than 3 residences or lots within that piece of property, you're saying they can give up 5% of the cash value of the property and build outside the 40%?
No, that doesn't allow them to,
Okay.
that's just if they want their subdivisions, they have to either provide the park space, 5% of the land. It needs to be dedicated as park space, or they give 5% in lieu. And, throughout time, the village has compiled some funds that is ready to purchase land. I don't know what that value is, but
So to these questions, I'm curious, could we compel them to provide a fund for trees, for boulevard trees, so that we can increase our tree canopy. I mean, this seems like we're trying to come up with some money here to plant boulevard trees and maybe.
Through the development procedure bylaw and the DAI bylaw, council can ask for increased tree canopy. But again, if we're trying to meet targets through Fire Smart and, you know, increase our tree canopy or green space, that's, you know, green space has a lot of different factors, right? You could have a lawn that is green space,
Yeah.
and that doesn't provide any environmental, matter of fact, it's probably more impactful than it is supporting. Whereas if you encourage them to plant wildflowers in subdivisions, then of course you've got your pollinators and all of these different things that will benefit from that, and you know, trees are part of that process.
Okay, sorry, Johnny, go ahead.
This question, is that like an example would be like Schooner, the end there, there's that little green area or those?
Yeah, so the end of
Considered-
Schooner, there's a strip that runs
Yeah.
along the whole, the east side of Hot Springs Road.
Okay, yeah,
That's actually a linear park that was provided through the Bott subdivision that created Schooner and your.
Yeah, and Emerson Cove, and that's,
Emerson Cove and the, is it Harrison Breeze, that's the
Yeah.
townhouse complex,
Yeah.
that was dedicated as land.
okay.
So if that's a prime example of what could happen.
Do they choose what they can put on it, or is it the village just
Or
for that dedicated space?
it is park, it's dedicated as park.
really,
Also,
Right.
we
Yeah.
could-
So there is space there. Yeah, so actually at the end of Emerson Cove, there is
we
park
talked about it,
space
yeah.
at that, in that area where, you know, through development, they planted those trees, for instance. Now the village owns and maintains those. You see that we put the water bags on them every year.
Yeah.
And we've seen success there, but, that's a prime example of what can be achieved through development, but that's a larger development, right? You know, my vision for an area of Pine Avenue, for instance, because it's underdeveloped and we see some applications coming through right now, is trying to find a pocket park there that it may not be a tree park like Woods Park, for instance, it could be a playground. Now, playground isn't gonna provide tree canopy, right? So that's the challenge, is like people are looking for park space and people have different ideas what park space is. One could be a playground and the other one could have a bench, right? So there's a broad spectrum on what people may expect as a park and their amenities.
But let's not forget that grass is good. Even if you don't have a tree, grass is good. It's better than asphalt any day.
Oh, yes, absolutely, to recharge the aquifers, and there's no question that hardscape does create drainage issues, and it certainly, to speak to that 40% that I spoke to about on a lot, there's no restriction on how much asphalt or concrete can be on a property, which again, is outside the parameters of, because there's no permitting required for, you know, putting a sidewalk in or, you know, driveway width and access, yes, but on the property, there's no restrictions, there's no mention of that.
So you could pave your whole lot.
Essentially, you could, I wouldn't recommend it. No. But, because if a property was to do that and not support themselves from a drainage perspective and were impacting their neighbors, then
Yes.
they're gonna have to fix what they've created.
Okay, any other discussion regarding urban forest master plan? Okay, anything else at all? So just to review the task then, so we're gonna take a look at the list of species that are available, is that right? And then we're gonna look at the both the urban forest master plan and the fire smart master plan and collate it and see what kind of rules are in place with regards to placement of trees on lots and that sort of thing. Who's gonna be doing that? I just want to make sure the task is being done. Yeah, go ahead.
I think the idea would be to add the fire smart itself, because I believe the tree master plan has been spoken to already.
Okay,
And you could definitely, I think what I would recommend is you just focus on what the fire smart recommendations are and look at the tree list, and we can certainly provide you the list from the subdivision servicing bylaw.
perfect.
And then you guys can kind of pick and choose what you want to do from there.
Could we use at our booths like QR codes and things like that, so people aren't picking up paper items as much and to get away from paper?
Yeah, that's a really good point, and if we're speaking from an environmental perspective, that's what the village is trying to do. We're trying to move more digital. We have some people that still like to have paper in their hands, but if they like to write notes. But certainly we're trying to push that, and I think that initiative is very important from a maybe from the committee's point of view and pushing out, that kind of promoting that, I guess.
So on that point then, for coming Saturday, next week, do we want certain things on QR codes that people can bring their phones up and talk about the urban forest master plan or the list of available trees that they can use? Is that possible, Kaylee?
She's got the QR
code
code. You can QR code anything, but this is what's gonna be at the
So
table.
what does that connect you to?
This is the urban forest master
Oh,
management plan.
that was,
There's
okay.
one paper copy and then everyone else who doesn't wanna stand at the booth and
It's
look at
already
it all
done.
day.
Yeah, right.
Can scan it.
Mr. Chair, consider it done.
Okay, thanks, guys. Okay, I'm gonna move on, just in the interest of time. Yes, sir. Yeah, John.
Just reading this group walk idea.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
That's a great idea about having like, I guess we go on a group walk to then.
Yeah, for sure. Actually, I'm gonna move on from item D, unless there's other questions. Okay, item E, trail planting area walk. We didn't get this done this month, and that's my fault. I've been just away and busy and everything else. So I'm open to ideas. It doesn't have to be one day. We can have a couple days. It could be a morning, an afternoon, whatever. It doesn't have to be all of us. Maybe just a few of us want to go out. But does anybody want to propose a time at all? I'm gone most of next week with the exception of Monday. So I'm going.
No, let's go Tuesday.
Sir?
No.
Yeah, you guys go Tuesday. We don't have to do it all at once. We don't even have to decide today, but
I was just kidding.
maybe just 2 or 3 of us that go out. Do you want to do it? Do you want to pick a time or do you want to do it ad hoc and call each other and say, hey, now's a good time? Any thoughts on that?
Pick a nice sunny day.
You guys want to try Monday? Anybody available on Monday?
Monday's election day.
Yeah,
Monday's election day. Let's not do that. How about the following Monday
we can
or Tuesday next week?
shoot for that. maybe.
Yeah,
Monday is not good because that's when Miami Stream Keepers
Oh,
do,
right.
so if you're gonna get out to,
okay.
which I encourage everyone to do, get out to help work on the trail.
So this would be a day morning thing or something?
Oh, whatever. You know what, Johnny, I know you're busy, so maybe we just do it on an afternoon when you're available. Or in mornings, like maybe we'll do a morning one and an afternoon one. We're not gonna get it all done in one walk, so unless we bring our bikes. How about I put, between Amanda and I, we'll put out some dates for the following week. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Is that all right with everybody? All right, anything else with regards to E? I'll move on. Hazardous waste collection day, item F. Amanda, so council decided to ask staff to look into hazardous waste and the idea of just to recall everything is that this day would allow people to get all their solvents and hazardous waste out of their garage and sheds into a common area here at the works yard so that we could properly dispose of it. Is that right? We'll do that once a year and maybe for a weekend. Go ahead, Amanda. Yeah.
Thank you. I think it's very like preliminary, so maybe we just need some ideas on kind of like a timeline when we would want to do it. I'm assuming we'll have to do some sort of funding for that as well to actually process the.
There are a couple of organizations, so I just would need some time to, connect with, there's some different like recycling organizations.
Is the committee like wanting to do it this year, like in the fall, maybe like as part of?
I would
fall
suggest
cleanup?
probably like a fall cleanup.
Okay.
100%. We got to get it done. I was hoping before the summer, but it doesn't sound like.
Can
we're
it,
gonna
it's
get it done.
safer, it's
everyone's
safer to have it in the fall
painting
and
and
cooler
doing
weather
things.
than like
Just
a
a
hot
second.
August day and then we have the fire department attending the fire department, you know.
Okay, so we'll aim
Tell you
for,
right now, it won't be cheap.
I
It's
think,
not a
just a
free
second,
event.
Gary, just 1 second. I think Susan, you were next. You had
Oh,
something to say?
no, that's fine. I was
Sure.
just saying, I think the fall, definitely because in the summertime, that's, people are doing their job, they're painting, they're doing things so that they have
Okay.
the leftover stuff. You can-
Good point. And then Gary, you had a question?
Oh, well, I was just commenting through experience that it's not a cheap or a free event for the village, that's for sure.
Yeah.
It's expensive to have this recycled.
Yeah.
Do we know if Kent does this? They must have a day or a
Hope
facility.
is doing one this week. I think this weekend, right?
I know Chilliwack does it as well.
Yeah.
Kent has done it in the past, yeah.
They've done it, so
So we
maybe
don't
we can
have to
just learn.
reinvent the wheel. How do you guys do this and when's the best time?
Or it
Let
might
us know.
be like
Thank
a
you, Sharon.
joint venture at some point in the future, right?
Yeah, to reduce costs, that maybe, yeah.
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah, so do we leave this with staff to investigate this and with the goal of fall, doing it this year? Is that okay? Yeah, okay. Anything else with regards to hazardous waste day? Okay, item G, saplings on boulevards. I think we've discussed some of this, but Amanda and I talked earlier this week because when we had this idea, Chrissy had come back and staff had come back and saying that, you know, there might be some barriers with regards to our bylaws, which go back a generation, so maybe they need to be updated or looked at, maybe not, I'm not sure. So Amanda, you had some comments about this, or Tyson, you did? Go ahead.
No, I think it was talked about quite a bit earlier on in the agenda, and it's a good place to start is gonna be that fire smart landscaping chart at the next meeting. For the future, like if this May Day event, Earth Day in May kind of thing takes off, we could look at, instead of saplings, as maybe partnering, we talked about this a little bit, partnering with the local nursery where we hand out vouchers. And people can go redeem them at the nursery instead of having like, you know,
An actual.
10-gallon
That works.
trees at the event.
A voucher for a tree?
Yeah, a voucher for a tree or something like that. I think this is kind of the first year where we're getting it underway, but if it goes well and it's something that the village wants to pursue in the future, we'll have more time to kind of explore that option.
Right. I was thinking of just more in terms of the bylaws. There are some sections, and maybe Tyson, you've got something to say about this, that there are sections in some of these bylaws which literally only allow one tree per boulevard or one tree per front lawn, and
It has to be a certain size, so
Yeah.
that's the problem too. They don't want them to be too small. So I think that was the issue with the saplings, was the size of them, so that they'll have a success rate on
Okay.
the boulevard. So you're right, the bylaw, there are provisions in the bylaw as well, but I think if we wanna promote tree planting, and have something that's a good size for people to plant, that's a different option instead of saplings.
okay, Tyson?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, so what I was trying to, and I probably didn't articulate very well, so there are species that we want to consider that are part of our bylaw. And if they're outside of that 10-meter window that ParaSmart recommends, we want to make sure we meet them. But the biggest thing is that the caliper size of the tree, and generally speaking, it's a tree that is a number of years old already, and it's fairly well established, and it's something that can be planted and successfully root and move on, right? So, and that's what we want to see. We don't want to see trees that are going to be planted and die. What I would recommend is that if we're going to be promoting that, because the challenge is that if the village isn't aware of what is being planted, then of course we don't add that to our stock. We don't take it to it's not part of our maintenance program. So then it in turn becomes responsibility of the homeowner. Now, if the homeowner is happy taking on that responsibility, I have no problem with that. But if it is something that somebody wants to plant to beautify a boulevard, and we're gonna be looking at, say, of a specific street is gonna have multiple trees, then it would be best, and they don't wanna take ownership or responsibility, to be best that the village is involved, to ensure that, you know, best practices are being put forward. Because there's other considerations, there's underground utilities you have to worry about, there's overhead utilities you have to worry about, there's existing trees that you have to look at, access, you know, is it fruit bearing, is it gonna create you know, these other hazards, all these other things need to be considered when you're planting a tree. So if the committee is promoting this, I recommend that the village is involved, and if we know the tree has been planted and it is gonna get reverted to the village's responsibility, it's best that we know.
Okay, good comment.
So you are saying that a private citizen can plant a tree on a boulevard?
I wouldn't recommend it, because the challenge with that is that there could be underground utilities, there could be stuff that they run into. If they're going to do that, that's where I'm saying is if they're going to do that, could they include the village? And then perhaps we can guide them through the process of getting that tree planted.
Should that not be in a bylaw?
It's in our, we do have bylaws that speak to tree plantings. Now, again, it won't be as prescriptive as saying, call us, we'll help you. It's going to be, here's your guidance. If you're gonna be planting a tree, this is what we want you to plant. We're not really specific. Now, through development, we have control. But specifically, if you're planting a tree and it's gonna be on village lands, I would recommend that they contact the village.
I was just under the impression if you plant it on a boulevard, the village is taking ownership of that tree.
Not right away. No, not without the village's input.
Because, well, say it grows up and it becomes a big tree, now all of a sudden the village has to worry about that
That's
tree.
where our struggle is right now, is there are some people that believe that a tree is in the boulevard is the responsibility of the village, and when it does get to that point, there's this struggle that where the village is saying, okay, Mr. Homeowner or Miss Homeowner, you are responsible for the tree that's in front of you, you're gonna have to maintain it because it's impacting utilities. BC Hydro could be doing the same thing if there is, say, overhead power or something. So that's where the challenge lies, is that if we're not involved, it's not part of our stock, nor is it part of our responsibility. If it gets handed over to us appropriately, and we're involved with that process, then that's when the village would take ownership of that tree.
I just think the simple process would be to have a bylaw stating that a private citizen cannot plant on a boulevard. And it would be up to the village to plant trees on the boulevard and maintain them through their lifespan.
Yeah, and I can't speak specifically to where, if it is said or where it is said in a bylaw, but that is the accepted practice at this time.
Okay.
Sherry, go ahead.
What exactly is a boulevard? Must there be a division of a sidewalk?
So it's a match.
Between a
there's
private
imaginary line
property.
called your property line.
Yeah,
I don't mean to sound,
yes, you do.
no. That's, no, so as an example, this piece of paper would be your lot, right? So the road's out here.
Yeah.
So your property line is back here.
Yeah.
The section between
So
the
the 8
road
feet,
edge and your property line is boulevard.
that's the 8 feet, okay.
And we don't,
So it's understanding,
Maybe 8 feet, it could be
12.
more, it really depends on what type of road has been constructed and where it's been constructed. So establishing where your front property line is the beginning of your boulevard. And again, through bylaw, it does speak to maintenance of that boulevard is responsibility of the adjacent owner. It's quite vague, but it says to keep it free of any debris and or materials or anything like that, so, and then no parking, of course.
Does the walk or the boulevard walk back to your water shut off?
It's pretty close to that. I would say that the property line would be fairly close to your property side of the water meter box. Now, again, it depends if that water meter box was installed correctly.
Yes.
wow. Okay, so in our.
I had a second part to that, just for clarification, if you don't mind.
Sherry.
Okay, so now what do we do in a situation where there is the property, there's a sidewalk, and then there's grass, and then the road? Because we have both of those issues.
Yes. So in most examples with respect to that, the village is responsible for that I'm thinking of off the top of my head. If the village does maintain that, like for instance, the section on like the linear park on Hospital was an example, Lillooet Avenue, those boulevards are maintained by the village. There are some areas like we would prefer to see homeowners maintain the properties adjacent, or the lands adjacent to their property, because then of course that minimizes the impact to our resources, right? So if we're having to go out and maintain. The other examples is across the street here at Harrisburg, there's a sidewalk with boulevard and grass and trees. Trees we're responsible for. The sidewalk, yeah, we're responsible for, but the maintenance and like lawn mowing, they're responsible for.
So for the purpose of this committee then, and to keep it simple, is that we should restrict ourselves to village lands. And you guys have, clearly you're aware of what areas are and are not probably suitable. Because you'd already know about the utilities and whatever else. So is there somebody that has that information that they could maybe just put it on a little list for us so that we don't walk and look at other areas? Like, have you clearly identified some areas that you think are vastly short in urban canopy that you know are safe and also following the bylaws already?
Well, one property
Areas that need attention that have already meet all the criteria, so we don't have to say, hey, we've got this great idea, we'd like to do this, and you go, yeah, but we can't because of this and that. So do you have a preset idea of some areas that we could look at initially?
Not particularly, but I think that off the top of my head, we have a big lot here that has, what, 2 trees in it? I think, 3 trees in it, and perhaps that might be an opportunity for something along the boulevards here.
Okay.
We could look at something like that. We have
Place to
park
start.
space.
So we do, okay.
And to that point, Jerry, and I think we were gonna, during our walks, we're gonna go equipped with a nice detailed map, street map of the
Yeah.
villages.
Yeah, it was just a blank map, but why look at areas that definitely, no, we can't go anywhere near that because it doesn't fall within our venue and our parameters. Save everybody a lot of time, get a little bit of success. Look, we have a little project here. We went around, we saw we needed to develop the canopy. We found a place that suits both the village, the community, and the fire smart and the bylaws.
Yeah, I
And
think,
here it is.
I think the challenge about, say, going into a subdivision, an established subdivision, saying,
Yeah,
hey, that's a great spot for a tree, but what about the guy that's adjacent to that, so the people that own the property?
I don't think we have any business touching people's private property at all.
Not private property, I'm talking.
No, I'm talking about
boulevard
public.
frontage there.
Yeah, I know,
Yeah.
there's that too,
Right,
is like,
so-
there's like, this is a
A
new.
bit of a consultation. piece,
Yeah,
and I
we
think
need-
If you're gonna, if you want to focus in an area, that would be something that you'd want to engage the neighborhood and say, okay, people, this is what our plan is, are you in support of it or not,
Okay,
right? Because,
So if you wanted people to plant on their own boulevard.
yeah, if they want to have a tree in front of their property, essentially.
That'd
there
be a
is-
great project for a fire smart neighborhood.
It could be, yeah, it could be.
is there a map that exists that outlines the boulevards without sidewalks?
Well,
Do
we
we have
have
that detail?
our, we do have, like, so for instance, you could go on to, I believe the FBRD has a map that has both the aerial and the lots.
Oh, wow.
The, what do they call it?
GIS, okay,
Partial
sure.
BC, I think.
Okay.
Which will be able to show you, not super accurate, but at least will show you where areas where the boulevards are. And areas that you should be able to identify trees on that as well. And you can do that on a mobile device, so that would minimize having to print maps.
Okay,
If you've got a laptop or
yeah, if you could share that link with us, so we can.
yeah, it's through the FERD map, web map.
Bylaws, saplings, boulevards, and our walk. Is there anything else?
Oh, no.
Susan, are you good?
No,
You've got,
no.
looks like you're ready with information there, Paul.
I just wanna say, I mean, I looked at some of the things in here and said, oh no, this looks like this is dead in the water, but your comments made me realize there is a way, we just gotta go through a little bit of a process and
I think
figure
so.
these out. So I feel, when I read this, I was saying, oh no, we're never gonna get there. And now
I think
you're
an
talking-
example is this vacant property here, I mean, we have future plans for it, don't get me wrong. And we hope that it'll include park space and tree plantings and whatnot on the property itself. A prime example is that you see the trees that are out there, the 2 cedars are well established, they're probably not going anywhere anytime soon, but now we have a deciduous tree that's on the boulevard that is looking pretty ratty, so that might be something where the village would consider removing and possibly replanting some trees in its space.
Okay.
I will advise that there's a hazard, or sorry, there's the hedge that's right behind that, the bus stop that is there, those are gonna be removed, under the village, Fire Smart initiative.
Oh, wow.
We're gonna have that removed, and then perhaps there's an opportunity to, plant some more trees in that area as well.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I mean, my goal is to, I really want to start this year. Even if we just say, hey, let's get 100 trees planted this year. you know, the shade from these are gonna be wonderful in 20 years. We just gotta get started and start planting some trees.
And another two, where I would recommend is you guys, if you do go for your walk, go down the Lower West as well.
Yeah.
Because eventually we're gonna have a plan there that hopefully will be all full of landscaping, and we can provide the final result of the consultation part that we could, you know, that part we could certainly share with you.
You've got something to share with us?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, it's, again, it was provided at the public open house.
okay,
We could certainly, and it's a kind of a rough draft of what their ideas for landscaping would look like.
good. Everybody excited about this? Let's get some trees planted. Right. Is there anything else anybody would like to talk about with regards to saplings, boulevards, and bylaws? Nothing? Okay. I'll move on to item H, next meeting. Amanda, do we have, I think we are due for another 4 weeks from now, or?
Normally the committee was meeting the second Wednesday of every month, and I think this one got bumped up quite a bit because of the Earth Day in May event. So the next, if we did that, the next normal regular meeting would be May 14th.
That's pretty soon.
Yeah, I don't know how the
This
committee
was a
feels, or
special meeting.
Yeah. So you guys want to do it after the May long weekend then?
first Wednesday of every month? Was it the first Wednesday? Okay, sorry. Well,
What was
that's
it?
even sooner, so.
Oh, okay, sure.
Yeah, sorry. So
So we can probably wait till the first Wednesday in June?
Yeah.
Is that okay? Is that
so
okay
that
with
would
everybody?
be June 4th.
Okay. June 4th, and at that time, we should talk about, you know, the things that were good about the Earth Day in May, things that we need to improve upon for next year, just have a little debrief about that, in addition to whatever else we want to talk about, if we could add that to the list. And then by then, hopefully we'll get a couple walks in for our tree locating services.
What time on Tuesday?
Everybody okay for mornings? Johnny or you? Yeah. We did say we would alternate, so.
Does it work better having, is it more like best I can get the feeling to have it in the morning?
Sir?
It'd be best to have. it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because.
I think you're the only one that's less flexible, Johnny, to be honest with you, not to put you on the
It's all
spot
on you,
publicly.
Yeah,
But we do owe you an afternoon. And
Yeah.
we did promise you that we would do an afternoon one, so
that can
Let's
be more
leave that
of a-
with
maybe
you.
a more of a winter thing.
Oh.
That's totally fine, but I can try to make, yeah, I'm gonna make this one work.
yeah, okay.
You got 6 weeks notice.
I'll call it.
Is this your code? Yeah.
You don't use your sick time, they won't leave you more.
Yeah.
So then just to,
Yeah, go ahead,
for me to
Susan.
clarify, so in May, we'll sort of organize some walks.
Yes,
Yeah,
I'm
and
gonna,
then we'll meet in June for
Yeah.
the official meeting.
I'm aiming for, not this next week, because it's election day and we're at a conference, but the week after, yeah. So the week of May 3rd, I think it is, or 4th.
Sounds good.
Is that okay? Could have a couple walk, do one in the morning, bring your bikes, it's our first stab at it.
I'll
Is
be
it-
more like an early evening one if somebody's in.
Yeah, maybe,
So
and maybe
we can reach out, yeah.
there might be 2 groups going at 2 separate times, and I think that's good.
Yep.
Is that all right?
In the
But
meantime-
we do need from staff maps, so that we
In
could,
the meantime, I'll send the link to the, I'll get Amanda to send the link to the FBRD maps. And then you can kind of zoom in and you can get an idea of where the property lines are visually, like what you do is reference what's on the ground to kind of get you an idea of where the property lines are, and you can see areas where they'll be short.
okay. And Tyson, any advice on if we go, hey, there should be one right there, do we put a flag on it? Do you want us to just pinpoint
Mark it
the?
on the
Just
map.
take and mark it on the
Attitude.
map, yeah.
We'll mark it on the map.
Yeah, I think it would be something that if you just say a general area, and then we can have a look and see what kind of utilities are there. Whether there's any impact.
Right, all before you dig.
Definitely that. That is part of the process.
Good.
Is that listed anywhere on that Fire Smart landscaping plan, call before you dig?
That's
If
what
it
they probably
isn't,
not.
it should be.
It is, yeah, you're right.
Okay, before we adjourn, does anybody have anything else to add at all? Somebody would like to move to adjourn the meeting? We move to adjourn the meeting.
We're having so much fun.
Still want it to end.
Then we gotta keep talking.
Okay.
Yeah,
Move to adjourn.
okay, Gary moves to adjourn. Is there a seconder? Move to adjourn, sorry, Johnny, and all in favor? Thank you, guys. Meeting's adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Okay. See you later.
See you all on Saturday.
Yes.
What's happening Saturday?
Next Saturday, sorry, next Saturday.
Don't get the wrong Saturday.
Show up there, go, hey, where's everybody?